Hi there, welcome to day 112 of our Be a Better You annual challenge. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. And today we're talking about relationships, of course. We're focusing on relationships. That is the area of the 9-part life framework, which I'm going to grab and share, that I share all the time. And that it's a framework I use for my own life as well as the people that I work with, because it takes some of the chaos and craziness in our life and in the world and helps us to put a frame around it to get a little modicum of control. And those areas are physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, financial, relationships, contribution. And in 2021, I added communication and confidence. Why? Because we were just coming out of the pandemic. It was a crazy time, a little bit crazy for me, but also for everyone else on the planet, right? We were reintroducing ourselves to the world and trying to figure out what the heck are we going to do now, given that something that we could never have even fathomed or imagined had happened, and the world had literally shut down for the most part for well over a year. And so I looked for some coaching and some, how do we make sense of this? How do we keep moving forward during crazy times? Because the worst thing we can do is just sit and wait. The most important thing we can do is to continue to move toward who we really are, who we want to be, and how we want to show up in the world. So I added those two components to the life framework, and we talked about them in February and March this year. I usually save them for the end, but I'm mixing everything up this year because I think when we mix things up, at least the order in which we go through them, it helps us to have different epiphanies, different ahas, different distinctions. We see things that we didn't see before. And so that's part of why I'm mixing it all up. Plus, it's a lot more fun, right? Than if every April or March, depending on where Easter lies, is spiritual month, etc. I like to mix it up. So today, our topic is how do relationships, because we usually have more than one relationship in our entire life, how do they interact with and fit into each of the other life framework areas? I have shared this awesome graphic before. I was going to redo it, and then I'm like, no, it sort of represents exactly what's going on inside of us all the time when it comes to the different areas and aspects of our life. So if we look at relationships are interacting with and affected by every other area and aspect of who we are as human beings. So if we're physically sick and struggling, we're going to form some relationships to help us get better. We're going to form relationships with healthcare providers, doctors, maybe, depending on what's going on with us, maybe health clubs or health club folks. We're going to start or join a walking group, whatever it is. Physically, we're going to form more relationships to improve our health. Relationships and our physical well-being and health and how we feel about ourselves and think about ourselves, which is emotional and spiritual and mental, all have an impact on our relationships. Think about financial. When we're growing and building and supersizing our business, when we are out in the work world, interacting with other human beings because we have a job or a career that we're building, all of these things require us to get along with other people and form relationships with other people. Some superficial and surface relationships, others really, really deep, like our personal relationship, our most primary relationship, or the relationship with our kids or with our family. We have to think about how all these different areas impact those relationships. If I'm having a spiritual crisis or any other crisis, it definitely impacts my relationships. Maybe I go inside and I avoid people and I stay away from everybody, which is really the opposite of what I want to do when I'm having a mental or a spiritual crisis. I want to get out there and interact with other human beings, because that will remind me that this too shall pass. It's just a temporary thing. It's just a weird way I'm feeling, and I will get over it. I think that was one of the worst things about COVID, was the isolation that so many people felt because we were physically separated from a lot of people that we love and care about. So what are we going to do today for an action item? We're going to do what we do every month when we talk about this aspect of the life framework. This is an exercise we're going to go through every single month. We're going to ask ourselves, okay, we did it last month and the month before. How do each of these areas interact with and impact me and my relationships? Physically, if I'm not feeling good, guess what? I'm not going out and forming relationships with significant others or whatever. Mentally, again, emotionally and spiritually, all the same thing. Depending on how we're feeling about any of these 4 primary areas is going to determine the relationships we'll even have, or maintaining the relationships that we do have. How many of us have seen marriages or relationships fall apart because someone in the relationship gets sick, gets a diagnosis, and the other person just can't deal with it? What does that say about the other person? That's all I'm going to say about that. Same with mental, emotional, and spiritual challenges. Financial challenges probably destroy more primary relationships than anything else does. Confidence, communication, and contribution. What I want you to do is do like I do. In my book, I write the topic relationships, and I look for, and as I go about my day, I jot down things that I notice are impacting my relationships that fall under each of these categories. And at the end of the day, I'm going to look at it and I'm going to say, what do I see here? What am I seeing for patterns? And then what am I going to do about it? I'm going to pick one thing and I'm going to do it today, right? So if I notice that I am avoiding going out and being involved with other people, friendships, significant others, social relationships, because I don't feel good about myself physically, then I'm going to do something about that starting today, right? I'm not going to wait till tomorrow. I'm going to start today. But just pick one thing, right? Otherwise, this can be overwhelming, but it's valuable to do the exercise now and jot things down. So after you accomplish that one thing, you can just come back and pick another, right? And again, like I said, we're going to do this every month with each of these categories because they all are totally dependent on one another and they all interact. So maybe, and since we're heading into tomorrow, we're going to start working on our ideas process. Start thinking about and noticing what is the number one area or number one relationship that you want to add our ideas process to. So think of the biggest goal you want to achieve this year with respect to relationships, or pick the one relationship that you know you want to enhance, improve, or fix because it's got some broken components. Guess what? None of our relationships are perfect. They all have room for improvement. Even our relationship with ourselves, right? And maybe that should be on here. Self as another category. You think about it. All right. If I can help you in any way with this, what do? You just ask. Otherwise, go out, make an amazing day, and I'll, of course, see you tomorrow.